might seem strange to think of the Iron Giant and No-Face from Spirited Away as two sides of the same coin. One is a metal-eating robot alien programmed to be a weapon of mass destruction. The other is a spirit who acts as a mirror, taking on the essence of his environment, be it greed and consumption or peace and tranquility. But if you take a step back and look at their character arcs, they each represent a core theme of their respective story, the positive influence of empathy to shape identity. In this video, I'll explore this central theme and how it relates to my own struggles with identity. I'll also talk about the xenophobia portrayed in The Iron Giant, and then how we can relate lessons from both of these films to the modern era. Identity doesn't just fall into your lap. In both Spirited Away and The Iron Giant, we see two characters struggling to form their identity. They are both blank slates, susceptible to any combination of gluttony, violence, and rage. It is only through the compassion and empathy of Chihiro and Hogarth that No-Face and the Giant are saved from the brink of ruin. We'll come back to the Iron Giant in part 2, because for now I want to focus on No-Face in Spirited Away.
Similar to Hogarth, Chihiro, the protagonist in this film, exhibits unrelenting compassion towards the character of No-Face and rescues him when he turns into a gluttonous monster. No-Face acts as a mirror, taking on the essence of his environment. We all know a No-Face in the real world. Someone who has no true identity, who mirrors their environment in order to fit in, who doesn't possess the ability to think for themselves. Someone who parrots whatever opinion or hot take is popular on Twitter that week. Someone who is addicted to external validation and consumption. Lonely and insecure, these No-Faces crave connection or purpose, and think that the best way to achieve their goal is to loudly conform to societal expectations. I know this because for a period of time in my early 20s, I was a No-Face.
I think back on certain periods of 2020, and I cringe at the performative nature of my chronically online presence. What did I have to offer as a nobody white guy with nothing of value to say? Why did I feel the need to weigh in on every issue? It was a strange time in my life.
I had moved back to Chicago after school and was surprised when very few of my high school friends did the same. I was left stranded in the land of employment, realizing far too late that the future I chose would leave me empty and unfulfilled, so I lapsed into vice and distraction.
I drank on weeknights, gambled incessantly on sports, and mindlessly scrolled Twitter and Reddit. I struggled with tremendous health challenges at the time, which only compounded my misery. Really though? I was desperate for connection. Lacking any outlet for true connection, and feeling unfulfilled in work and love, I turned to social media. You know, social media, that ever-present, unregulated cancer that plagues the strong and tears down the weak. Yeah, that's social media. I turned to online communities as a replacement for real community, which exists, but damn if it isn't hard to find these days. And why shouldn't I have? Shouldn't social media serve to connect and unify, rather than inflame and divide? No, of course not. Because social media, just like the bathhouse in Spirited Away, is driven by one power alone: capitalism. Social media giants design algorithms to manipulate and control, to enslave your attention and use it as currency. They discard your soul and ignore your mental health.
Spirited Away's bathhouse, a microcosmic representation of any capitalistic society, all the money and power is concentrated at the top, while those at the bottom scrap and claw for every bit of leverage that they can. We see this in the way that Chihiro is first treated by the workers in the bathhouse, who see her as a burdensome risk who might jeopardize whatever power they may have. So they take advantage of their rare bit of authority and treat her like filth, commenting on her smell, naivety, and laziness. Thus, when No-Face enters the bathhouse, he inevitably becomes a gluttonous monster, terrorizing its workers and reflecting the greed and consumerism that courses through every step of the bathhouse's hierarchical ladder. The turning point for No-Face comes when Chihiro is the only one to treat him with dignity and respect. She forces him to purge the negative influences of the bathhouse, quite literally, and travels with him to Zeniba's cottage, where No-Face finds comfort and belonging in simple pleasures. It might be easy to dismiss and ignore these No-Faces who seem to dominate our society, but Spirited Away, much like the Iron Giant, shows that what they really need is empathy. What if a gun had a soul? What if a gun didn't want to kill? What if a weapon of mass destruction resisted the one thing it was designed to do? These are the questions Brad Bird posed in The Iron Giant, and 25 years after its release, the animated classic is more relevant than ever. It's an intense movie with serious themes for a child, yet it delivers its universal message with such poignant candor that kids can understand it and adults can resonate with it. The Iron Giant is about identity at its core, about choosing who you want to be.
You are who you choose to be.
But it's also about violence, mortality, xenophobia, and friendship. The Iron Giant follows Hogarth, a 9-year-old boy who lives with his single mother in Rockwell, Maine. One night while home alone watching scary movies, Hogarth explores the woods after discovering his missing TV antenna and sees the Iron Giant electrocute himself while trying to feed off the metal in a power plant. Sympathizing for the giant, he saves him by shutting the plant off, sparking, no pun intended, a friendship that becomes the heart of the film. Hogarth teaches the giant about life, death, empathy, and morality, and recognizes the need to keep him hidden, as people will only see a massive metal monster. The electrocution incident proves crucial, as it rewired the Iron Giant's instincts and buried his violent purpose deep within, allowing him to grow and learn with Hogarth's help. We see the giant's destructive design during a harrowing dream sequence, which indicates that there are hundreds or more of its kind used to conquer planets. Hogarth hides the giant at a scrap metal yard with the help of a beatnik character named Dean. But the giant reaches a crisis one day when Hogarth points a toy gun at him, activating a suppressed defense mechanism, turning his eyes a sinister red and causing him to shoot a laser beam towards Hogarth, nearly killing him. The Iron Giant runs away, terrified and confused by his actions, but ends up close to town where he sees 2 boys dangling from a ledge about to fall. The giant's inner goodness becomes clear to the townspeople as he saves the boys from their fall, but at this moment, Kent Mansley, who we'll come back to in a bit, and the US Army rear their ugly heads and launch all their firepower at him. This again triggers the giant's destructive instinct, and he begins to obliterate the army, whose firepower doesn't so much as dent his metal armor. It is Hogarth who halts the giant's destruction, reminding him that, quote, "You are what you choose to be." But immediately after the giant returns to its docile resting state, good old Kent Mansley overrides his commanding general and orders an atomic strike on the giant.
Launch the missile now!
Knowing that everyone is about to die, the Iron Giant completes his heroic character arc as he launches himself into the sky to intercept the atom bomb.
You stay. I go.
In a scene that will leave even the most stoic misty-eyed, the giant ultimately sacrifices himself to save lives, rejecting the death and destruction inherent in his purpose.
You are who you choose to be.
Choosing instead to be This, by the way, is a callback to an earlier scene where Hogarth showed the giant a comic book with Superman and Atomo and explained that Superman only used his power for good. So the Iron Giant here wants to be Superman. It's gonna make me cry again. Throughout the film, Hogarth and the Giant battle the xenophobia of the town people of Roxwell, who become increasingly paranoid when rumors swirl of encounters with the massive metal monster. The film wastes no time establishing the paranoia and American exceptionalism prevalent during the Cold War. Indeed, the very first shot shows the newly launched Russian satellite Sputnik, a reminder to Americans that the Russians have won the first battle in the space race. When a fisherman encounters the Iron Giant, and later, farmers discover massive bites of tractors, silos, cars, and other metal objects, it only intensifies the town's fear. Hogarth's classmates speculate that the giant was, quote,
It's probably been sent by foreign enemies to take over the country. We should bomb it to smithereens before it does.
While Hogarth teaches the giant about morality and protects him from the townspeople's suspicious eyes, government agent Kent Mansley shows up. Mansley is an arrogant personification of paranoia and suspicion, and he begins a relentless hunt for the giant that proves far more destructive than anything the giant would have done.
Foreign satellite, Hogarth, and all that implies.
We don't know what it is or what it can do. I don't feel safe, Hogarth. Do you?
The Russians, the Chinese, Martians, Canadians, I don't care. All I know is we didn't build it, and that's reason enough to assume the worst and blow it to kingdom come.
The xenophobia of the townspeople and Mansley certainly resonates today with how some white Americans treat the other, be it Muslims, enemy nations, immigrants, or people of different races, religions, or political beliefs within the country. The way that the town of Rockwell, Maine reacts to the Iron Giant mirrors the way that America acts when it sees something it doesn't understand, with fear and suspicion. The Iron Giant teaches us to focus on our common humanity, rather than anything that may divide us, a lesson we would do well to learn in the age of political extremism and manipulative social media algorithms. America loves blaming other people for their problems. Lost your job? Must be all those damn immigrants.
Uncomfortable by the unhoused population in your city? Their fault for being lazy. Distressed by the violence you see on the news? We'd better beef up our police force. And now that I think about it, I better buy a gun to protect myself. Hear about an ISIS terrorist attack? It's gotta be the inherent evil in Islam beliefs.
But it would be hypocritical of me to blame people with these shallow beliefs for problems facing humanity, rather than look at the macro level systems that lead to their misguided opinions. It would be a mistake to view my anti-vax aunt as idiotic rather than a product of misinformation and fear-mongering. It would be a mistake to view my military-obsessed family members as simply naive and arrogant, rather than a product of the patriarchal need to dominate and the deeply entrenched militaristic values of our country. It would be a mistake even to think of QAnon incels as irredeemable misogynists, rather than to understand the factors that led to their radicalization. Now hold on. Bear with me. I'm not saying you need to go reach out to your local conspiracy theorist or have a heart-to-heart with your sexist and racist estranged uncle, because you would never change their mind. But we humans are social creatures that crave belonging. And sometimes, unfortunately, the communities that we find are created by power-hungry master manipulators who feed off our fear of the other. All we can do is try our best to understand our fellow humans. Because as much as social media would indicate the opposite, we are more alike than we are different. And the growing divide between us only serves to propagate more hate, more violence, more sexism, more racism, and more xenophobia. The Iron Giant was saved from his destructive nature because Hogarth saw the underlying goodness in him. Now, do I believe all humans are basically good? Honestly, I have no f***ing clue. The way that some of them act, it would seem very much the opposite. But the fact of the matter is, I do know more basically good humans than bad ones. It is simply that our current system rewards the latter camp for their tenacious desire for money, status, and power. I don't know what it's like to live on the poverty line. So in a way, I can never really understand the people that do. But I can empathize with them and think about how at my lowest point, I too was desperate for connection and belonging. And perhaps if my circumstances were different, I could have fallen into the trap of alt-right radicalization. I hope not, but you never really know.
Yeah.
are what you choose to be. You can choose to be a no-face, to suppress your identity in favor of conformity. You can choose to give in to your worst impulses, wrought on by trauma or mental health issues.
You can choose to blame others for the world's problems, to judge them and insult their intelligence. You can choose to feed capitalism through vapid consumption.
Or
You can choose to find your unique identity, to amplify your goodness, and mold yourself into the type of person you are proud to be. You can choose to be kind and empathetic towards people that are different from you, to understand the underlying factors that made them the way that they are. You can choose to embrace your idiosyncrasies, to be vulnerable, and to be staunch in your morals.
Brad Bird says, quote, "I think people connect to the idea that we all have dark and light sides within ourselves, and that our lives are defined by which side we act on. We all have the power to affect those around us, and that can be either a destructive or an uplifting thing."
Until the past few years, the choice that I made was complacency. I procrastinated choosing anything, not realizing that that was a choice in itself. I took the path of least resistance at every turn, like a nomadic human choosing to forage berries and nuts, rather than going through the tiresome and often unfruitful process of hunting gazelles. But the nomad who subsists only on foraged foods and disregards the need for protein grows stunted in mind, body, and spirit. And while I grew to a healthy 5'9" on a good day, my mind and spirit suffered from my apathy, and I did not realize my critical error until it seemed too late. This is a severely limiting belief, that it's too late, and one that I refuse to accept. Discovering one's true calling, and I don't even think I like calling it that, beneath all the bullshit distractions of modern society, is no easy task. Maybe for some it is, and for those people, I offer a hearty congratulations, while whispering, "fuck you," under my breath, but not for me. I thought my calling would miraculously show its face one day, and I'd kick my bad habits and throw myself into study or work. I mean, it's in the name, calling. It's supposed to call upon you. You're not supposed to call it. It's supposed to reach out to you through the ether of purpose and say, "Hello, we've been trying to reach you about your calling in life." Instead, I interpreted its silence as it saying, "Hey, it's your calling here. I spoke to the calling committee, and they said you're not obviously tremendous at anything, so we don't know, maybe try marketing or some shit." Not everyone has supportive family and friends to help them through hard times, as I did. And certainly many people have been through traumas incomprehensibly worse than mine. Not to mention our society is filled with sharks and snakes that wish to take advantage of these people at any given moment. This is why I can look at people that I may have once hated or called insane and try, though not always succeed, to see things through their eyes, or at least understand what made them the way that they are.
Why are you the way that you are?
So here I am, 27 years old and feeling behind in life, knowing I want something different, but not entirely sure how to get it or even what it is. But I know one thing, we aren't designed for this hyper-specialized capitalist society that we're living in. And as somebody with ADHD, it's driven me crazy trying to make myself fit in a system that makes no sense to me. Our systems are failing us, but the meaning is there in art if you look for it. And that's what I'm trying to do. My passion for writing has been hidden in plain sight all my life. I've had like 5 blogs at this point. So the stories we tell is just another way for me to channel that. And I know that others are feeling frustrated or resigned or anxious or depressed or lonely. I myself have oscillated between cynicism at the state of the world, hopelessness that anything I do won't really matter, and optimism that it's not too late. At the end of the day, nothing I do is going to matter, at least on the grand scale of humanity's future. But I can affect change at the micro level. I can be a better person to the people that I love. I can live a conscious and mindful life, engage with my community, and most importantly, take care of myself and live the kind of life that I will one day be proud to have lived. Because at the end of your life, there's only one person who you'll have to answer to: yourself. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts, my review of these 2 films. I was initially just planning on making this an Iron Giant video, and then, as I was writing the script, I'm like, man, this reminds me of No Face and Chihiro. So I'm like, why not throw it in there? Because I already had written the blog post about it. I hope you enjoy these movies as much as I do. If you haven't seen either of them, go watch them. I mean, I just spoiled the Iron Giant ending for you. It'll still probably make you cry. So, and Spirited Away, I didn't really spoil too much. So go watch those movies. They're both excellent. And that will do it for this video. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Peace and love. And I'll see you next time. Bye.